literally right as we went live, I coughed some stuff up. That was my bad. Thank you guys for being here this whole weekend. It has been a wild weekend. As you can see in the banner, Daniel Suarez wins the Coca-Cola 600 from Charlotte Motor Speedway. What a weekend it was. What a week it was. Coming off of the tragic news that we received on Thursday, we headed into Friday. No one really wanted to be there. That race gets postponed to the morning of Saturday. Doesn't run then either. Gets postponed even further. We run 45 minutes of Cup practice, no qualifying. Field was set by metrics. The O'Reilly race doesn't really run. They ran around 37 laps or so under green flag conditions, and a lot of guys wrecked out of the race. It was really foggy. NASCAR made the controversial decision to call it, even though the majority of the laps were run under caution. And then early this morning, we ran the truck race. The truck race was shortened. It could have ran the distance, but possibly because Fox had the IndyCar coverage starting soon, not right after, but soon after, within the hour, they went ahead and called the race. They could have finished. So I'm not sure if that's a NASCAR deal or if that's a Fox deal. I think it's more than likely a Fox deal. But NASCAR shortened that race. We had the Indy 500. It was actually awesome. Little issue with the weather there, but we kept it going, and what a great finish that was. Fantastic finish to the end of the Indy 500. Glad we got one good race in. One decent race. It felt like we looked at the radar more than we had the leaderboard up throughout the weekend. And the other highlight was the Weenie 500. It was nice when cars were on track. We had good racing when the cars were actually on track. But, it was such a difficulty to get these races in. I mean, it felt like a sign that we weren't meant to be racing it, but it's a good thing we did, I think, to focus on why we come together each week, to why this sport is such a connecting force for so many of us, for so many of our regulars in the community, is we love racing, and that's how we came to know Kyle Busch. So it was the right thing to do to continue racing. Another thing I liked is all the tributes throughout the weekend across different motorsports from different people, leaving statements, leaving their memories, their positive memories, reminiscing about not just the type of driver Kyle Busch was, but also the man that Kyle Busch was. I also, I'm glad they renumbered the 8. Give me 1 second. All right, we'll go ahead and hop into our race recap here. Just the first thing I noticed, even as far back as the practice and when the qualifying was rained out, Prime started the broadcast anyway. Didn't just fill it with banter and joking with drivers. They just let the cameras roll. And you were just able to watch the Air Titans go around the track. And it felt like being at the track. And I've been at the track so many times. It's about half the time I go to a track, it starts raining. So I'm very familiar with the Air Titans going around, and the jet dryers and the tinnitus, and it's a whole thing. But it was cool seeing that. And it was cool seeing the drivers come out onto pit road after the rain had stopped falling. And you saw a lot of the drivers not really engaging with other people. For a split second, we saw Herbst and Bubba talking, and they may have hugged each other. But anyway, most of the drivers were just off to themselves, just kind of looking off in the distance, and everyone was just still processing what had happened, and it was just so hard to believe. And even seeing Busch's truck out on track in the truck race this morning was extremely odd to know what should have happened and then what did happen. Two different realities. And then to see the 33 well, to see the 8 loaded up and then see the 33 unload there at the track, that was definitely a jarring experience, and it definitely harkens back to when the 29 was first rolled out. Black 29 on the door and the 3 emblem right next to it. Very similar situation here. And once again, it happened to RCR, that organization. But during their coverage, Prime, they really set the tone. During the 45-minute practice session for this race, it was very subdued, and they kept it pretty serious. They just covered it as well as they could, but there wasn't as much banter as usual. It wasn't the same energy, and it felt respectful. And I don't think some other broadcasters, whoever, I just don't know if they would have stuck the landing. The only guy that I would trust, outside of Prime coverage, NBC, probably do a decent job. But the only guy that I would trust to do a really good job of being the voice of comfort and the voice of, the sport would be Mike Joy in terms of a broadcaster standpoint. But I was just really glad to have Prime back. They're my favorite broadcast portion of the season. Great coverage. The broadcast looks great. The graphics package looks great. It's just, it feels like this is how the sport is meant to be covered. They went live early again today before the pre-race, and you were able to see some recruits get sworn in to a few of the branches of the military. That was cool to see, as this is the Memorial Day weekend race. A lot of military members there, a lot of military presence, and you were able to see some of that just like you were at the track viewing it, and that was really cool. They do an hour of pre-race before the broadcast starts, and 90% of it was honoring Kyle Busch, and they interviewed a lot of people that Kyle Busch had mentored. Kyle Busch was important to them, and it was a very emotional time. Joe Gibbs was on the broadcast, which, if you haven't seen Joe Gibbs' press conference, it's a 15-minute press conference from, I think, yesterday. You need to take a look at that. But it was a very emotional broadcast for sure. Mike Helton was on at some point. I'm not sure if it was the pre-race or if it was the CW's coverage, but I remember seeing Mike Helton today, and we know Mike Helton knows this kind of situation all too well. Very familiar with that from a first-hand point of view. Very emotional tributes during the pre-race. That portion was difficult to watch, but Brexton, just watching him while people, I believe it was Steve O'Donnell was there honoring his father, the whole garage standing behind it. I don't know how he held it together, but I mean, I'll show you guys this. This was a look at the pre-race. They both had their Battle of the Bushes shirts that happened last fall. A lot of people wearing the black tribute hats for Kyle Busch. We had a moment of silence, and a lot of the field and a lot of the guys in the garage area were wearing Brexton Busch shirts. Larson was one of the guys wearing one of those shirts, and I know a lot of the other guys in the field had Brexton Busch shirts on, and I thought that was really cool. Just prayers for that kid going forward. Hope he's able to get back in a car, but I know that's going to be its own process. Then at the start of the race, we have the missing man formation. That's another thing that we saw in 2001. There's so many parallels here, but a good way to start off the race honoring Kyle Busch. So we actually get into some racing, some actual, racing that isn't marred by the threat of rain for once this week. And this was our Lap 8 tribute. Everybody holding up their double fours. That's probably about the best way to do an 8. You could also do a 5 and a 3 for its own reasons. But, good to see the tributes here during the IndyCar race. Just in general. And I'm hoping we see a lot more tributes throughout the year, and especially at Las Vegas in the fall. But we get underway. Reddick leads them off. Lap 8 was a silent lap for Busch, which we took a look at for a second. Lap 35, caution is out. It was a spin by Josh Berry. He continues. Austin Hill got the free pass. This is not a video of that. And then on lap 40, Tyler Reddick leads them back off. Daniel Suarez makes an unscheduled stop. Has to come down pit road and put on fresh tires. So he loses a lap, I believe. And then on lap 53, Austin Cindric slides up and down the track and ends up collecting Connor Zilic. A really, really hard hit here. Let's see if we have a different view. It's a really hard hit. And from the onboard from Cindric, it is tough. Also, Byron got a little contact there, if you could see that. If you've seen it loop the last couple of times. Byron got a little contact to the right rear. Not sure if that affected his day, but he took a couple hits to the right side of his car. We'll talk about that in a second, potentially. Priest gets the lead on the restart. Zane Smith takes the lead and holds it on lap 91, right before the end of stage 1. Chase Elliott spins by himself and brings out our caution. No contact, no issue here, really. He just got loose off of 2. A little too much steering input, pushing it really hard. And just slides it down all the way across the track and into that inside safer barrier. During this caution period, Zane Smith, our leader, was too fast entering. Had to start from the tail end of the field. Larson ends up taking stage 1. Let's go ahead and take a look at our stage 1 results. Kyle Larson, P1. Chase Briscoe, P2. 3. Tyler Reddick, 4th. Denny Hamlin, 5th. Eric Jones, 6th. Ryan Blaney. 7th. Ty Gibbs. 8th. Ryan Preece. 9th. Ricky Stenhouse Jr. And 10th. Shane Van Gisbergen. Joey just missing out on points. Suarez, really good recovery. He just had an unscheduled pit stop. So that worked out really well for Daniel. Good recovery. Brad had worked his way up from, I believe, back around 25th. Bowman had worked his way up from around, I think, 35th. So those guys were moving through the field pretty well. And we'll just go ahead and move on. We're going to try to wrap this race review up pretty soon. Briscoe led them off in stage 2. Suarez was recovering really well. We already took a look at that a little bit in those stage results. Blaney got back up in the top 10. He was up there, then he fell back quite a bit, but he had worked his way back up. That was impressive to see that bounce back, and he was one of the best running Fords for most of the day. But we'll discuss a bit of those circumstances a bit later. Denny Hamlin to the lead. Zane Smith and McDowell both had tires fail. They're both able to make it back to pit road. They both limped it back around to pit road and were able to continue without damage. Denny Hamlin wins stage 2. And let's take a look at the stage 2 results. Denny Hamlin takes stage 2. Ty Gibbs 2nd. 3rd. Chase Briscoe 4th. Tyler Reddick. Toyotas. Kyle Larson, kind of the sole Chevy up there for much of the race. I mean, he was leading the way. Then Bell, Blaney, best running Ford. The RFK guys were working their way up. Preece, Buescher, even Brad, at certain points were just hovering right around the tail end of the top 10. And they usually stay pretty close to each other throughout the race every week. Those cars are really equal on most weeks. SVG actually in the top 10 on speed, and we saw this for a lot of the race. Extremely impressed there with SVG. I mean, they had something figured out today, and SVG had something figured out. Great job from him. Ricky was top 10 on speed. He ran well in practice, and I thought it might be a fluke. It might be because of the weather, but he actually was running up there on pace. Eric Jones had been working his way up. Joey had been working his way up. So we had some comers, some goers throughout. Austin Dillon and Austin Hill both back here 19th and 20th, carrying on for RCR. Let's look at our Stage 2 results. They paused to remember the service members. There was rain close and on the way on lap 310. Catherine Lake lost a right front wheel, which did end up bringing out a caution. The Gibbs guys ended up swapping the lead several times between Reddick, Briscoe, and Hamlin. On lap 304, Timmy Hill catches fire. I believe I didn't write it down, but let's look at our Stage 3 results. Bell, Denny, Ty Gibbs, Briscoe. 1, 2, 3, 4. That's the JGR guys. Then we have Kyle Larson up there alone, all by himself. Then we have Tyler Reddick, 6th. SVG up there, still top 10. Brad, good to see him get some stage points. Really needs them. He's on that bubble for the chase. Blaney, 9th. Ricky Stenhouse Jr. still top 10. Eric Jones worked his way up just outside the top 10. And then you have the other two RFK guys not too far behind. I mean, the Fords, it looked like the Fords are just really equal. And you see this a lot, the Fords grouping up. So it's the Toyota guys, maybe one Hendrick car, and then the Fords, and then a spattering of Chevys, and then maybe a couple further back Toyota guys just having a bad day. This seems to me the Toyotas just definitely have something still. Ford is still off the pace. Chevy has the new body, so they have an excuse. So there's still a pecking order that's very obvious to the average race fan. So lap 304, Timmy Hill this is during the stage caution, I believe. But Timmy Hill has a fire in the right front rocker panel, I believe. And he actually caught fire in Zane Smith's box. So they had to do some cleanup there. On lap 318, caution out for an accident with Ross Chastain on the backstretch. So Ricky Stenhouse Jr., it's a little bump. It didn't look egregious. But Stenhouse, he's up there up high. Chastain's really aggressive here, sliding up the track, trying to block. And it wasn't an egregious hit by Stenhouse. He just made contact while moving to the side. And that was enough to upset Chastain and send him very hard into the inside wall. Chastain not able to save that. Stenhouse continuing. I think that was just something of a racing deal. Stenhouse could have let off, but who lets off late in a race in the Gen 7 car? Losers, that's who. On lap 329, another hard hit. Briscoe, very similar type of accident. Some sideways motion, another bump, and that ends up taking out Preece. That ends up taking out Busher. Busher, I think, got a hold of Preece. Preece into Briscoe, something like that. But these guys all involved. Josh Berry, minding his own business further back, runs right into it. Blaney goes through the infield grass to actually avoid this. But some really hard hits for these guys. Preece was not able to continue. Briscoe was not able to continue. Really disappointing end of the day for Briscoe and how well he was running. And even for the two RFK guys involved, they were both running in and around the top 10 at this point in the race. So, you don't want to see a good car taken out of the race early. And we were seeing a lot of that around this point in the race. 344, Austin Dillon to pit road after obliterating the right side of his car. Not really, it's pretty wild we didn't get a caution from this. But they were definitely trying to keep the race green because rain was a threat for at least 50% of this race. Rain was a threat. On that 353, we have a caution for lightning in the area. So that brings a lot of guys down pit road. A lot of people were thinking that was going to be a 30-minute break. You know, that's usually mandatory. Lightning in the area, 30-minute break. But they ruled that the weather was moving away. As the meteorologist said, the weather was moving away. So we continued. Then we have a rain caution, lap 361. Daniel Suarez has taken the lead at this point and had held the lead. He stayed out when the rest of the field pit. So Daniel Suarez has the lead. We get the cars back rolling. This is a bit worrying. The strong Toyota cars are right behind Daniel Suarez. Daniel Suarez, once again, able to hold the lead. Caution comes back out lap 373 for rain. The rain actually comes down pretty heavy this time. They call the race. Daniel Suarez is your winner for this year's Coca-Cola 600. Just an amazing time. Just a feel-good victory. It was some good racing, too. I thought it was good racing. I didn't necessarily like who was at the front the whole race, but it was decent. You know, we just needed to get back out there. It was much better than the truck race and much better than the O'Reilly race. It's a shame just kind of how this weekend went down with all the rain, the weather, but it was a step we needed to take. We needed to get back to racing. We're still going to have this the rest of the season and really, you know, forever, because we're always going to wonder what the alternative would have been like. How different careers would have been. You know, I've been talking for the last few months about where Kyle Busch might end up this next year. I've been talking about what his truck career might be like in a few years, and you know that it's going to be something we can't avoid. We just need to, you know, not move on, but to move forward, and you know, really focus on Kyle and being respectful of the family right now, not pressuring them. If Brexton ends up making it to the Cup Series, you know, give the kids some space and some time. And I think the only guy that really knows this firsthand, and it's not a one-to-one situation, but it's as close as you can get, is Dale Jr. So maybe Dale, at some point, if he's comfortable, can reach out and maybe be somewhat of a mentor to Brexton, because it's going to be a tough road, you know, moving on, being involved in racing at all, but also because of the expectations a lot of people will have for Brexton if he ends up going through with it and making it to the Cup Series. It's going to be a lot of pressure. It's a lot of pressure just to be a successful athlete's kid, period. Bronny James has dealt with that. Shedeur Sanders has dealt with that. You know, there's expectations and there's the pressure to live up to it. But especially in the unique situation of that parent no longer being around and being as key to the sport as Kyle Busch has been, it's going to be tough. So we just need to try to handle this with as much respect as possible. You know, I've seen some very rude things online the last couple days, but that's by far the minority. If you see it, if you feel like it's something that needs to be reported, report it and just move on. Don't engage with it. That's how things get spread, is by engaging with it further. But just a feel-good victory at the end of a tough weekend, and it's not going to get any easier anytime soon. I'm just glad we were able to actually get the majority of this race in. And, you know, that there's not really much else I have to say on that front. Let's try to find our point standings. And I will read your comments, and we will wrap this thing up. So This is after Watkins Glen. They still don't have the points up. Great. Beyond the Flag says they have the point standings, but this was posted 5 hours ago. It was updated 17 minutes ago, so maybe they actually have it. Hopefully this is accurate. I'm not going to fact check. I'm just going to believe it. Tyler Reddick still scored our leader. I mean, it's pretty obvious. Had a really good race. Denny Hamlin up there still, 129 points back. Chase Elliott, third, 145 back. Did not have a good race. Ryan Blaney, fourth. Fifth, Chris Buescher, even wrecking out of the race. Ty Gibbs, sixth. He's really coming on this year. Seventh, Carson Hocevar, still up there and in contention. Kyle Larson, eighth, still in the winless streak. Brad Keselowski, ninth. Not bad. He got a few stage points throughout today's race, so that definitely helps. And Bubba Wallace, 10th. He started off the year really well, but just hasn't really executed lately. So he's been dropping down the standings a bit, but still in the chase. Oh, is this any different? Wait, what was this? Before Charlotte. We're reading the old standings. I've been had. Old standings after the Coke 600. It's about the same. The point totals are different, but it's about the same. Ryan Blaney, Ty Gibbs, Chase Elliott did drop in the points. Kyle Larson went up in the points. Hocevar dropped in the points. Buescher 7th. Bell 8th. Bell had a good day. Daniel Suarez 10th. He was flirting around that bubble. Keselowski 11th. Holding on. William Byron didn't get stage points, but he held on, and I believe he finished pretty well. I can't remember exactly where he finished, but much better than he actually ran all day. At one point, I think he was 2 laps down, but ended up coming back for a decent enough finish. Bubba Wallace 13th, getting closer to that bubble. SVG 14th. SVG did great today. Got stage points. And I think coming in, he was like 16th or something in the points, or he was around that cut line. And there was enough gap where I thought, even if he has some bad races here before our next road course, he might stay in the chase for another week or two. And then maybe he would fall back down. But he actually ran top 10 on speed, top 5 on speed for the majority of this race. It was really entertaining to see, and I would have been fine with him winning too. I just didn't want to see Hamlin or Reddick win this one again. I was even okay with Logano winning. That's how desperate I was to see a non-Toyota win. Cindric just outside the chase. Joey, recovering pretty well from running further back early in the race. Working his way up just outside that chase window. He may have to knock his teammate out of it, but he's trying to work his way up. AJ just outside of it. McDowell. Let's go further down. Bowman has passed Connor Zillage and Custer. I think he may have already had passed them last week, potentially. Maybe not. Custer had a really bad day, and Zillage did too, so Bowman probably passed them today. But imagine, you've ran every race. You've ran every race. You've ran every race. This guy missed 5 and crashed out of like 3 of the other ones. And he's passed you in the points already. Wow. You put it like that, it sounds like they suck. Just a rough rookie year for Zillage. But Daniel Suarez getting the win. Our Toyota's up here still running really well. Larson up here, our one Chevy representative outside of Suarez. Just a great strategy call for Suarez's team to stay out. And Suarez did his job and actually held the lead, nailed the restarts, worked with Kyle Larson a bit on a couple of them. So just extremely impressive there. Ty Gibbs, good day. If the race had run green at one point without the rain breaks, Ty Gibbs was potentially on the best strategy and on track to win. he went on a little off sequence in that last stage and made a play for the win, and the strategy didn't play out. Ryan Blaney, Logano, both ending up in the top 10. Byron with a top 10, which was insane. I mean, he was a 20th place car, and that's if he was. I mean, if he had fallen further back, he might have been stuck. He was around 2 laps down, got him back, and made it work. Bowman actually was several laps down, eventually got his lap back, and even gained a position after he got his lap back. Got by, maybe someone crashed out. I'm not sure who he got by, but up to 17th. That's better than the 48 deserved. They had a horrible day. Passed a lot of cars in stage 1, and then Blake Harris went to work on it and apparently destroyed the car. It's kind of the story every week. Hocevar, he had some flashes of speed, but definitely just didn't have the handle on that car. Gragson, Dillon, 25th is actually really good for Ty Dillon, so good for him. John Hunter Nemechek, kind of on the disappointing tail end of our Toyotas that actually finished. Austin Hill making it to the end. Cody Ware, Josh Berry with damage, Chris Buescher with damage, and then Catherine Legg. Her double was not a success today. Crashed out lap 18 of the Indy 500 and then finished 12 laps down. Don't worry about this S. I have to fix that. That's a glitch. Then we have out of the race, Austin Dillon, Ryan Preece, Chase Briscoe, Ross Chastain, Timmy L. Chase, Elliott, Austin Cindric, and Connor Zilic, which I believe on the actual scoreboard, Zilic finished 38th and Cindric was dead last. Not sure why. This is data we get directly from NASCAR.com, so I'm not sure why that's listed this way. Maybe it's just when the caution fell and that's how they froze the field, but I believe that's an error. So these are unofficial results, but they're pretty official. End up with 32 lead changes, 75 caution laps. That's a ton. But that is a little look at our Coca-Cola 600. What a weekend. We've been live for probably near 20 hours over the course of Friday to today, which now, I mean, we're getting close in Eastern time. It's already Monday. Happy Memorial Day, guys. I guess happy Memorial Day. It's meant to, honor our fallen service members. So just, think of them at some point in the day, and just remember the sacrifice that they made. We have a lot of guys that paved the road that we're currently on as a country, as a society, with their life. When people make the decision to enlist in the military, they're giving the government a blank check to destroy their body, not just their knees, not just their back, their mental state, but potentially even their life. So, it's always nice during this race. All the patriotic schemes. There were a ton of patriotic schemes this year. That was awesome. A lot of good-looking cars. But overall, just, it's great to be back racing. It was entertaining to be back racing, but it was a very somber weekend. There's an elephant in the room currently, and one that we must acknowledge. Let's see what you guys are talking about. Christian said Justin Haley won the 77, not the 7. Spire 7's first win. Yeah, I remember that. I think it was, 2017 Daytona? Yeah. Christian says it was the right call. There was 17 laps to go. We fully lost the track. It wouldn't have been worth it to wait until 2 in the morning and waste the gas for 17 laps. It's best to call it. Especially because of the difficulty we've had with the truck race and the O'Reilly race, and just how difficult a weekend it's been for fans, the families, drivers, just everyone involved. It's been a tough weekend. So I'm just glad that it's over. And by the way, Prime's post race is still going too, alongside ours. Fox would be done by now. They would be covering horse racing or a paid programming or the latest rerun of Big Bang Theory or I don't know, Family Guy. they're still covering the race. Prime is the best. They are the best. Kyle Reddick's post-race interview, bro said I'm like 30 times. I get it. Especially, I don't know what, I haven't heard the interview, but especially if he was disappointed with not getting to dedicate this win to Kyle Busch and getting it himself, you would be at a loss for words. I know when I found out here on stream, I was at a loss for words. I didn't really know what to do. Not showing any post-race interviews. Chris, we have done that before. I'm not sure if Prime posts the post-race interviews. We do have an interview from Daniel Suarez. Yeah. We're going to wrap this thing up. No, I'm not going to show the post-race interviews, but we will definitely consider that in the future. We've done that before in the past. So if we see those in the future, we may, set that up where we can do that. Right now, I don't have it set up for the capture software to take audio from this Chrome tab. So that's why we're not doing it right now. Was that the updated points? I believe it was. It says Cup Series at Charlotte, full standings after Coke 600. At first, we read the before Charlotte standings, which are similar, but in some ways very different. So it's good we read these two. Towards the front, at least, it's somewhat similar. Well, Custer finished 16, so there's no way Bowman leapfrogged him in points tonight. He did. He did, apparently. Somehow. I mean, that's at least how they have it here. 147 to 134. These could be wrong. We could double check. Maybe NASCAR has posted them by now. They didn't have them when I just checked. It was standings as of Watkins Glen. That was the last they had. Yeah, it's still the Watkins Glen results. Let's see. Daniel Suarez currently scored 270 down. Let's see if that's what these results had. 270 Daniel Suarez. These seem to be the correct results. Christian says, rest in peace, Kyle Rowdy Busch. You'll be missed by many, and we won't forget you. Legend, and may your legacy live on forever. Thank you for all the memories, Kyle Busch. We're going to be feeling his impact for, at minimum the next 2 decades. But if Brexton gets in a cup, you can make that 4 decades. We're going to be thinking about this, talking about this. And as long as we're alive, people will always remember Kyle Busch, and he will always be brought up into the conversation. So, I'm hoping this is just the beginning of honoring Kyle Busch and, keeping his name and his icon known about, talked about. And I hope people remember, especially his relationship with his son. Check out Kyle's own YouTube channel to see more of that. But as far as towards the end of his life and racing career, I hope people remember the Dover win. I hope people remember the 2 top 10s he got and what would have been 3 at Texas. He was trying his hardest to turn that 8 team around, and they were doing a decent job. It seemed like things were moving in the right direction. And I mean, just 6 days before he won a race at Dover? I mean, just incredible. And his words right now seem psychic in nature, supernatural. I know why he said what he said. Many guys say that after a win. Older guys or guys that are in a dry spell say that after a win. AJ Allmendinger said that. Ryan Blaney has even said that. But, he said you never know, when it's going to be your last. And because of what happened this week and Kyle Busch passing away, that is his last. But, an interesting thing, we talked about it a bit during our truck stream. Kyle Busch, by virtue of winning and that car being where it was in their metrics, Kyle Busch put that truck on the pole. So the 7 car with Corey Day driving started from the front. So Corey Day, I believe, was officially awarded the pole. But I think it would be cool if, just for the record books, we credited Kyle Busch with that pole victory. But that'll wrap it up for us, guys. Thank you guys for joining. It's been just a bizarre weekend that I hope we don't experience for many, many years, if not ever again. Not just with the news, but with the constant rain delays, the stop and go nature. I mean, that alone makes a weekend miserable. But with the compounding factors, it didn't make it any easier. And a lot of these guys probably didn't want to be out on track, didn't want to be there. A lot of Kyle Busch fans, I know Kyle Busch fans that went to the race, and I just feel terrible for them. A lot of them had plans to meet Kyle Busch on Thursday, and that didn't end up happening. And just the feelings they must have gone through hearing the news and then deciding whether or not to even attend the race, and then making the decision to go to the track, and then having it rained out for several days or, several hours. That's just an exhausting turn of events. So I'm glad this weekend is over. I'm glad that we have started the process of healing, of moving forward, and honoring Kyle's legacy. I could sit here and talk for 2 hours and still not say everything that needs to be said, or everything that could be said about Kyle Busch. And thank you guys for hanging out on a personal side. Thank you guys for hanging out. We were live when the news came out, and we talked for an hour and a half after that. We didn't continue racing. I know a lot of people ran memorial races on stream. I just couldn't really bring myself to do that. It didn't feel right. But it was important for me too, to process this with you guys, to talk through this, and to reminisce about our favorite memories of Kyle Busch. And some of those memories brought a smile to my face, and was fun to recall those times and what it meant to each of us, and hearing about what it meant to each of you. And just being here throughout the rain delays, all of our rain delay coverage. We turned a ton of laps on NASCAR 25 during the rain delays. We stuck in here, and we have reached the end of our race weekend coverage. So thank you guys so much. You guys are why I do this. We've been down in views lately. We haven't been in the algorithm for our race streams. It's been discouraging, but then we still have our regulars here. They're carrying the conversation, making me smile, just adding so much to what we do here. You guys just make this so much of an enjoyable experience. We didn't stream during the Dover weekend. I still watched the races, and it was nice to rest a bit and to focus on some other things. But, if I'm going to sit and watch the race, I might as well talk about it with people that also love and follow the sport. So I appreciate your guys' company and being here, engaging in the stream, liking the content, engaging in the chat, and just being generally friendly to each other. So I'm not really for censorship, but I do like seeing the stream stay civil, and you guys do a great job of that. So it makes my role easy. The king is dead, on the moderator front, not really having to enforce much because you guys keep it respectful and keep it light. And when things get serious, it stays respectful. And, that's something, it's a curse. It's a blessing and a curse when your channel gets really big. We've had streams where we've pulled 34,000 people, 35,000 people, even as recent as Talladega, 27,000 people. And when a bunch of strangers get in the chat, sometimes it can get a little out of hand, especially with like the topic of discussion. So, it's in some ways a good thing that we have this core community, this tight community. And so maybe we'll look at it as a bright side. The algorithm has insulated us from negativity that we did not need this weekend. But that'll do it for us, ladies and gentlemen. Until next time, be safe, be kind, and know that you are appreciated.